Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the Kaspa emission schedule. So there's been a lot of discussion about how it's going to work out in terms of Kaspa coin as the emission schedule gets greater and greater. It is a very harsh emission schedule, as we can see here, and also with 10 blocks per second coming in, I'll explain that as well. But this is the main emission schedule, so you have total mined, then total per month, and then Kaspa per second, and then the date that this is going to come online. So we're already quite a way through this. If we look here, we are just here. So the block reward right now is 92 Kaspa coin. Now the reason that the block reward is not going to change, or this emission schedule is not going to change, is because this is measured in Kaspa per second. So if you have 1 blocks per second, that means each block has this reward. When it goes over to 10 blocks per second, this is just going to be the same, because the same amount of Kaspa coin will be rewarded per second, but it's just going to be split by 10 blocks. So this emission schedule, if you look at it after the 10 blocks per second upgrade, it's going to be basically the same, and this number is just going to be divided by 10 for your block reward number. But the main thing I want to talk about today is the supply of Kaspa coin, the hash rate, and also the price of Kaspa coin, and what needs to kind of happen within the next couple of months/year for Kaspa coin to still survive the hash rate going up quite a lot. So right here we see just the normal rewards per day for Kaspa coin. You can see the KS5 Pro is making around $22 a day, and that's pretty good profitability. I don't think any Bitcoin miner can do that, and a lot of the Bitcoin miners can barely get up to around $9 a day. But these rewards are slowly going to fade very quickly as more hash rate comes onto the network. When we're looking at the hash rate in 1 year, so you have 891 petahash right now, and I believe it went up to 1 exahash right by here, if we can get it to show up. So we can see this spike right here. Let's see, it went above 900 petahash and is basically touching 1 exahash. But when we go in the year, we can actually measure how many times the hash rate has actually doubled for Kaspa coin within the year. And it's important to kind of measure this, because every time that the hash rate doubles, the reward gets slashed in half for mining. Plus we have the emission schedule, which is halving every year. So in order to maintain the same profitability, Kaspa's price has to rise by the factor of how many times the hash rate has doubled, plus the halving of the emission schedule every year. So when we look here, we can see, let's just go for the 1 exahash range, because that's going to be our starting figure, and it's probably going to touch that within the next week or so. So we have 1 exahash, and then it halved down to 500 petahash that you can see there, so that's 1 time. And then divided by 2 would be 250, which we hit around here, so that's 2 times. And then 125, which we hit around, let's see, here. That would be 3 times, and then divide that by 2 gives you around 60 petahash, I believe, which is 4 times there, and then divided by 2 gives you 30, which is hit there, and then divided by 2 again gives us around 15 petahash, but close to, in a year, we've actually doubled the hash rate 6 times over. Which means if you wanted the same profitability that we see here, the price of Kaspa coin would have had to have doubled 6 times within the year. When we actually look at the price of Kaspa coin, it's only doubled to a factor of 2 times. So we have around 4 cents here, it comes up to 8 cents here, so that's once, and then 8 times 2 would give you 16 cents. So you can see that that's only 2 times it's doubled within the year. I mean, there is an argument that it might have doubled once more, up to 20, but currently the hash rate is obviously outpacing the price by quite a lot in terms of adding hash rate to the network. And this is why you're seeing the Kaspa miners become less profitable as time goes on. There was like a sweet spot, and that was probably when the KS2 was out. That was, I believe, making the most per day. But after that, as you can see here, this is the yearly chart for the revenue per kilohash, and you can see it's pretty much gone right the way down. And we mainly saw this with Bitcoin as well, where the profitability is probably around $2 to $7 per day in profitability, and Kaspa coin is fast approaching that. So if the hash rate doubles again up to 2 exahash, that basically means that the price of Kaspa coin has to double, otherwise the profits are going to be slashed in half. So as we just saw there, so it's a factor of 6 times that is doubled by within the year, and then you actually have to look at the emission schedule. So with Kaspa coin, the emission schedule states that it will halve the rewards within the year. So you can see here in 2024, it starts with 110, and by 2025, it's going to be 55. So it's going to halve within the year, which means that it's going to be half the profitability, plus the halving of profitability from the hash rate increasing by a factor of 6 times, doubling. So to obtain those same profitabilities at the start of the year, you would basically need to double this number 6 times, and then double that number again because of the halving of the network, to gain the same profitabilities that we had when we had the KS2 and we had that peak of the profitability. So when we look on the 2-year chart, this is kind of GPU mining, so I wouldn't really count that. But right here, I believe, is when the peak of profitability happens in terms of ASIC miners. And then it's all downhill from there. So it's really profit gouging at this point. So if we did that, it would be 4 times 2, which would give us 8 times 2 to give us 16 times 2 again. And it brings it all the way up to $2.56, and then you'd actually have to times that by 2 again to give you $5.12. And obviously that's very unrealistic at this point, but that's what the price of the coin would have to have been to achieve the same profitability that we had around the peak that we saw here. So it would have been around a year ago where we had this massive peak, and basically from there, every other ASIC that comes online is going to be less profitable than the others. The only reason that they are kind of marketed as more profitable is because they have more hash rate, which kind of outweighs the fact that they're getting less per kilo hash. And then we have to talk about the fact that 85% of the Kaspa coin is mined. So we had around 70% on GPU mining, and then it switched over to FPGAs for just a little bit, and then it went over to ASICs. So around 15% has been mined on ASICs, and this is going to fast approach the Bitcoin supply that we see. So we can see here 9.4% of Bitcoin supply has actually been mined, and only 85%, as we see here, has been mined for Kaspa coin. But when we do the calculations, it brings us down to around the end of 2025 is when we'll see like around 94 to 95% of the supply mined. So it's going to actually overtake Bitcoin within these kind of months in terms of the mine supply. And that'll be interesting to see, because by then we'll have a further halving from the time now. And also the hash rate is going to keep increasing. So it's going to become way less profitable, probably going to see profitabilities that we see with Bitcoin mining at this range, maybe $2 to around $5 per machine. And then past that, it's kind of uncharted territory, just because Bitcoin hasn't passed it. And I don't think there's any other coins that are this big in terms of Kaspa coin that has such an aggressive emission schedule to overtake Bitcoin's emission schedule. But hopefully the hash rate doesn't climb as fast as we'd like, and we can still keep a little bit of profitability. We'll see how that goes in the future. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe for more content like this.